All right, this should be letting everyone in. Good morning, everyone. We're just going to give everybody about a minute or two to get settled in. I think you guys have all know where we're at. So I think that everybody has found us. If you found us here, you got my more than a few emails to remind everybody of where we're at. So it is now 10 o'clock. We'll give everybody one more minute to get on. All right. All right. I hope everyone is doing well. So while we have this time and everybody's logging in, just want to let you know that you are here for the USAA Helping You Focus on Your Business webinar. This is a candid conversation, so you feel free to ask any questions. We have Marissa Foster is going to be taking all your questions, asking us along the way, and so feel free to ask any questions. I'm Rebecca. I am the CEO and co-founder for Veterans in Business Network. So you obviously found this because you are following us, or you are through our social media, you received one of our newsletters. What the VIB does is we advocate on behalf of the veteran business community. We help connect veteran business owners with contracting opportunities through government agencies and corporations. We also offer business development webinars and workshops. And if you're not a member, you can join for free, thanks to our corporate sponsors who pay for you guys to join and appreciate your business, like USAA. You're able to join the VIB network for free. So I really highly encourage you to do that. If you go to www.vibnetwork.org, you'll see it, and you can join and create your profile right away. With that profile, we have a lot of our corporate and government agencies who look through that weekly. We get email blasts or emails from our corporate partners who are continually looking for people in a variety of fields, such as IT, elevator repair was the one we got this week, and digging lines. So if that is something you do, go ahead and get yourself logged in. But we're always looking through our directory for corporate members, so to find veteran businesses. Also, you want to make sure that you do register to join the directory. You'll have first access to any of the opportunities or any events that we have. We have an opportunity board as well, so you can check that out. Those have our latest opportunities of what's going on, so you have access to that. And some of these are smaller opportunities that you can take advantage of. And our last thing is that we have our national conference coming up on November 8th and 9th. That our national conference is a hybrid. So it is live in person in Sacramento, but it's also virtual. So you can set up your virtual business matchmaking. You can attend the virtual expo, but if you want to join us in person, it will be in Sacramento. We are expecting about 100 or so people to be joining us in person. That includes corporations. I know T-Mobile just guaranteed that they're coming, along with California Water, Robert Half. So we do have some of our larger corporations who are attending. So you might get that more intimate one-on-one time with them than you may not have in the future. We have amazing seminar sessions, and we're really excited. So if you're thinking about registering, it's super reasonable. Again, thanks to our sponsors, it's $60 to join virtually. And if you want to just come to one of the events and hang out, you're more than welcome to do that as well. I think it's $40 for the Pop-In Podcast Social. So that should be a lot of fun. So without further ado, I will get into the meat of the matter here. So we're very excited because this is a real candid conversation. Business insurance is one of those things that I know, like me, you don't really think about, but we all know we need it for our businesses to survive. And I think this is going to be a great conversation. We have Nate Dressel from Frontier Coffee. Nate is a veteran. He owns a coffee company, and I think he has a wealth of experience in running his business, especially with inventory and all the bits and pieces that go along with that. So we will start off with you, Nate, if you want to just give us a quick little introduction about yourself.
Yeah, Rebecca, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting with everyone. So a quick little bit of background about myself and our business. I have been in the Army for 17 years now, about 13 of that active duty, and currently serving in the National Guard. I started off with 1st Special Forces Group as a 18 Delta. Did that for quite a while before switching over to the Guard. And about 4 years ago, my wife and I decided to start our civilian company while I was on active duty. It was kind of our exit plan for being able to, continue living the lifestyle that we wanted to live once I finally decided to separate completely. So we started Frontier Coffee Company. We started it as a brick and mortar retail coffee shop. That was in 2017 in Washington State. And since then, we have been slowly growing and transforming over the past 4 years to the point now where we are a coffee roastery and online distributor mostly. And we can kind of talk about that path as we go through the conversation. But yeah, it's been a 4-year journey from balancing Army life, startup entrepreneurial life, to now balancing the part-time National Guard life with a consistently growing business. So
yeah, not that you like to not be busy at all or anything like that. So
no, it's tons of fun trying to manage the business and go on deployments and attend schools and all of the Guard requirements. So tons of fun balancing it all. Luckily, it's myself and my wife. So I think being in the entrepreneurial realm and being a special forces military household actually makes it a little bit easier because we're so used to trying to balance so much stuff and having to work independently while one of us is away. So
I was gonna say it's a whole different mindset. You're geared and ready for whatever comes your way. You just look at it, manage it, and go, okay, well, this is how we need to assess this.
Yeah, I take off for a couple months at a time, and my wife Jen doesn't really skip a beat in picking up all the pieces and making sure that everything continues to roll forward.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for being here. And then we have Nathan Kraynak, who is the USAA Small Business Insurance subject matter expert. So he has years of experience in this. I was reading his bio. It just covers everything from workers' comp and beyond. So if you can just, introduce yourself, give us a little more in depth about yourself, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rebecca. First of all, thanks for the chance to be here today and hear about the Vib Network and all of the incredible things that your organization is doing for our veterans. So it's really, I appreciate the opportunity, and for you, Nate, as well. Looking forward to discussing your entrepreneurial journey and the evolution of your business, which you gave a little bit of some insight into. So looking forward to digging into that and speaking to it a little bit through the lens of insurance. As Rebecca mentioned at the outset, it's not always the first thing that comes to mind for folks that are starting new businesses. So I'm looking forward to covering the topic and really just risk management in general for all of your small businesses. So and also thank you all for your service to this country. I mean, our members are why we come to work in the morning. So it's an honor to be here. A quick background on myself. I've been working with small business insurance for over 10 years in all types of coverages, all types of industries, and all regions of the country. So I've touched just about everything. And I joined USA just over a year ago when, as a company, we're always looking to understand, what are some member needs out there that we might not yet be meeting, and trying to listen to our members and make sure that we get there to serve those who have served our country. And so one of those opportunities was small business insurance. As many of you may know, it was not an area that we were involved in directly. We do have an amazing agency that's able to serve all of our members' business insurance needs by partnering them or pairing them with other incredible carriers in the industry. But we saw a great opportunity to get into the market ourselves and deliver that same service that you're used to on your home and your auto and your renters, and bring that to your business. So it's been quite a year for us, launching in January and continuing to grow and expand throughout the year. And we have many more plans over the coming months and years to continue to expand. So really looking forward to the conversation and hearing from Nate and from you all about your businesses. So thanks again for the opportunity to be here.
Well, Nathan, I know that a lot of veterans were really excited to find out that USAA is now doing business insurance. I know that I've already spoke to several people who have their banking with USAA, and they just feel much more comfortable now, bringing over their business to you guys. And so what was one of the things that, inspired USAA to start doing this? Is it that they were constantly hearing this, or, what was one of the things that, inspired USA to bring on business insurance?
Yeah, it's a great question. So certainly a combination of factors. First and foremost was hearing from our members themselves, hearing from you all, that you have businesses and you enjoy the service that you have on your personal lines, and so kind of a natural fit to get into the business side of things as well, the commercial lines. In addition to that, and specific to small business insurance, just from like an economic trend perspective, small business startups or new incorporations of businesses has been a major area of growth across the country at a really broad level. So not only is it a big opportunity to serve more of our members in new ways, but also an opportunity as a business for USAA to get into an area of growth.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much. I know that a lot of people might be curious, and so this is so brand new, and it's not in all states yet.
Right. Yeah. Good point, and good time to bring that out now. As I mentioned, we launched in January. At the time, it was just in 5 states for a business owner's product, which is some property and liability, and in about 95 business types. And throughout the year, we've expanded. We're now in 27 states for our business owner's product. And we've also launched a general liability only product. So if you only need that liability, we've added a second product this year, which is currently in 6 states. And as I mentioned, the balance of this year is all about continuing to expand geographically, probably first and foremost, so that we can meet you where you are. And then as we go forward into next year, it's getting into new types of coverages, new industries that we may not be covering today, and ultimately new products that we may not write today. And where we aren't writing business at this moment is exactly where our agency comes into play. And they've been doing it for years. They are an incredible operation in helping our members get their insurance needs met by other great carriers in the market. So where we aren't able to, USAA as a company is still able to make sure you get your needs met.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move it back to Nate. Starting a coffee company I'm sure is very difficult, because the competition out there must be outrageous, especially with veteran business owners. tell us some of your, some of your top priorities when you started your business, and how you decided to, continue and proceed doing the coffee business and succeeding.
Yeah, absolutely. Coffee is a saturated market. I'm sure everyone listening knows at least a handful of other veteran-owned coffee companies out there. So my wife and I first got into it, like I said before, even before we got married, we had talked about thinking it would be a fun idea to own a coffee shop. Just kind of the lifestyle, the pace of life, the ability to work for ourselves and be part of our community. So that's what we started with, was that brick and mortar coffee shop. We actually found a shop that was in desperate need of repair, both as far as the physical facilities go, and the marketing. Really, the whole business just needed to be picked up by somebody, cleaned up, and rebranded. So that's what we did. Our intent at the time was to, like I said, provide that lifestyle, provide employment for ourselves and for members of the community. To keep our costs down, we learned how to roast coffee for our own coffee shop. And then people, restaurants, local grocery stores, and our regular coffee customers started buying bags of coffee, both for their home consumption and for resale, wholesaling at the restaurants and grocery stores. So that's kind of how we moved into the roasting side of things. Running a small business has enormous ups and downs, especially starting from the ground up. One of the things that we ran into a lot of headaches with 4 years ago was keeping quality employees and balancing the cost of employee overhead, physical overhead, and keeping our profit and customer satisfaction all going in the right direction. So we ran the brick and mortar for about a year or so. And the roasting side kept picking up, more wholesale roasting, more people requesting bags of coffee. So eventually we decided that we were going to continue focusing on our branding and the actual product side as opposed to the brick and mortar. So we ended up selling the brick and mortar shop after running that for about a year.
So that was right before the pandemic then. So that was what, like
that was 2018 we sold the brick and mortar.
Oh, okay. But
yeah, so we had a good time. I ended up going back on active duty again. I was stationed down at Hunter Liggett training base down in Central Coast, California. So we moved our roasting equipment, all of our packaging, shipping, moved all of that down to Central California. I was back on active duty working down there, coming home from work, going to the roasting facility, roasting, packaging, shipping all the orders out. And that was online. Online still wasn't our huge focus at the time. We had the website turned on, and if people found it and orders trickled in, that was great. But really for the second half of 2018 and then all of 2019, we found this really great niche of going to triathlons and marathons and large scale athletic events and being the coffee vendor for those 10 to 20,000 person athletic events. We were the only coffee vendor there. So that got more product in hand to people that were coming from all across the country. And it was it was a really good profit margin for us. So we had contracts with Ironman for Ironman Triathlon for all of their California events for 2020, I think. We had a couple of really large wine festivals out in California that we were going to do. And because we had so many contracts lined up, I was in a position to go back to being a part-time National Guard member as opposed to an active duty member. So I talked to my boss, said, hey, our business is going well. We've got all this stuff lined up for 2020. I'm going to go back to part-time. I'll see you on drill weekends. Lo and behold, about 2 or 3 months after doing that, the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, we lost, there were no more in-person events, no triathlons, no marathons, no wine festivals. no catering contracts. So that was a big blow to us. And luckily we haven't gone into debt. We've funded, the company and us have funded everything for the past 4 years. So we own all of our equipment outright. Because we own all of our equipment outright, we weren't in quite as big a pinch as some of the other people or some of the other companies trying to figure out what to do. And we did have a little bit of time to kind of refocus on the branding and the online sales aspect of the business. So through all those moves is kind of how we ended up where we are today. We're now living in East Tennessee. We own our own roasting and shipping facility. It's on the same property as our residence. Yeah, we've had to be very flexible over the 4 years that we've run the business, going from, tiny brick and mortar to large wholesale, large scale catering to now fully integrated roasting, online business, and shipping facility. I don't know how many other businesses, especially in our industry, have had to make that many changes that rapidly in a 4-year period. But I do think that being that we're completely family owned, we own 100% of the business, and we've operated very, very narrow margins in order to keep the business funding itself. I think that's what's allowed us to stay so flexible and stay alive this whole time. When emergencies hit us, we don't have a huge note that we're paying out to somebody. One of the things that we do have to be concerned about operating that way is we're always looking forward to what our next quarter's inventory is going to be and how we're going to house that much inventory. So yeah, it's a whole lot of moving pieces, but we've been able to make it work for 4 years so far, and this, despite all the craziness that everyone's dealing with the past year. So it's been going very well the past year. So.
Well, and it just seems like you've been able to pivot no matter what. I mean, that just is your, whether you meant to it for your business, it just seems like you are always able to, see the challenge and move, see the challenge. Some people just can't see that, like they're stuck. This is where we are. This is what we're going to do.
Right.
And I think we've learned in the past 18 months that things are changing. You have to learn how to pivot. There is new opportunities, and you've got to find and seek those. You can't just do business as status quo anymore. You have to change.
What we're doing today certainly looks nothing like the initial business plan that we wrote 4.5 years ago. I mean, not a single piece of it is the same, but like you said, we have remained nimble and flexible, and I think that's what you have to do in any business, whether you're dealing with coffee, dealing with a tech business, dealing with logistics. We're in a very rapidly changing time right now for all of that. So I think, especially in the veteran business world, a lot of people will start out with a certain idea of what they want to do for a brand, what they think is feasible for a brand, and can definitely get disheartened when that brand doesn't work out. That doesn't mean that you failed in business. It just means that you need to adapt to the market. And when you think about veteran businesses, we're a coffee company, but we're also selling a brand. The Frontier Coffee brand has meaning behind it, it has values behind it, and that's what we're selling. Yeah, I think we make a great product, but how does my brand differentiate from every other veteran coffee brand out there? That's what we're selling is the idea of Frontier Coffee and what we stand for. So that being said, whether you're starting a t-shirt company, whether you're starting a marketing company, whether you're starting another coffee company, unless you're willing to pivot, it's going to be really difficult to start off, to keep going on that initial trajectory. It's, no matter how you look at it, the veteran business market is getting very saturated. The GWAT veterans that are out there right now are very motivated to build something. We've seen over the past decade that veterans can be very successful in their own right. We don't have to get out and go work for somebody else. We can build our own empire. So it's a great time to be in veteran business, but it's difficult. And if you're not adaptable, it's going to be a really rough go.
Well, thank you. And I mean, that's the thing is when you're moving and you've got machines and you've got the liability and you've got all of those things that have to do with owning a business. This is when we turn it over to Nathan, and these are the meat and potatoes. We can sell all we want, but at the end, are we taken care of? And so Nathan, if you can, we're going to lean into the small business insurance. Tell us some of the priorities for small business owners that they should know about. Especially for Nate and anybody else when it comes to starting your business and about maintaining it so that you're covered.
Absolutely, yeah. So first of all, Nate, hearing that evolution of your business over 4 years is an incredible journey to say the least. I'm sure some stressful moments at times as you had to pivot, and not just pivot, like drastically pivot. So it's really impressive what you and your wife have put together. And as I was listening to you walk through that journey, I can't help, my insurance mind won't let me think about it through any other lens but insurance. But I think about, the importance for any small business owner as you're evolving, even if just a little bit, to take that time to understand, how you may have changed. So if you have a policy already, maybe every year you should look back and say, did I add any new services, or am I selling a new product? Even things like that simple might be important to check back in on your policy, call your provider and say, does my policy still kind of contemplate all these things that may have changed in the last year? Certainly for you, Nate, and some of your changes going from one state to another, or like going from owning a brick and mortar to being out of your house to out of a warehouse, and all those things are even more significant. So I guess just kind of top of mind, the advice that I would share is just for any small business owner to be constantly in that kind of evaluation mode, to make sure that the things that might keep you up at night are covered. Nate mentioned inventory is such a big piece. Anybody who has an inventory, I mean, that's the value. That's your business in a lot of ways, and the equipment that costs a lot of money. Making sure that that's covered and that your policy contemplates that. So that's kind of top of mind. But Nate, a question for you, as you went through all these different iterations, and I'm sure, your insurance policies kind of came and went as things change, but, let's just go back to whatever the first time that you bought insurance for your business, whenever that was, like, what was the trigger point that made you say, okay, I need to get insurance?
Funny enough, as you mentioned in your introduction, USAA has been not a provider, but a partner provider for small business insurance for quite a while. So when we bought our brick and mortar store, right away, just having a brick and mortar where we knew customers would be driving up to it, walking up to it, consuming beverages on the property, absolutely had to have liability insurance. And because I've been a USAA customer for 17 years now, we had our renters, we had our cars, we had everything that we did was through USAA. So we called USAA and said, hey, we started a small business. We, at the very least, need liability insurance. Can you help us? And you guys at the time pointed us to one of your partner companies. And that's where we started, was through USAA 4 years ago. I think it was the day that we closed on buying our building. That was, I mean, not just the liability for customers coming on there, but heaven forbid there was a fire or, break in, or any number of things that could go wrong with that physical location. So that was our initial go, was calling USAA, and you guys partnered us up with the right person.
That's great to hear that you were able to get your policy via USAA and another carrier. But one thing that I'll kind of add your story is probably the most kind of common trigger point. Someone, if you have a physical location, whether you own it or lease it, typically if you at the point of buying something or leasing a space, there's a requirement to have a certain level of insurance. So that's a common entry point. For those of you out there that own very small businesses, or those that maybe are out of your home, where, say you're a consultant or a photographer or someone that goes to other people's premises, it may not be quite as common to have that inflection point where, okay, I'm signing a lease, so I need to buy insurance. The way that I would think about it for your own purposes of, do I need it or don't I? It's, if you're going on to other people's premises as, say, a consultant or a photographer, or otherwise, if something were to happen similar to Nate's example of someone maybe slipping and tripping in his store, if you're at someone else's business or someone else's home and you have like a piece of equipment, we'll use the photographer example. If you have, your photography bag down on the ground and someone were to trip on that and get hurt as a result, you as a small business owner could be liable for some of those injuries that happen. So it may not feel like you have a major exposure, and it may be minimal, but it is important to just think about, like, okay, what would a bad day for my business look like? And not that anybody wants to think about that, and I don't mean to put anyone in a bad frame of mind, but it is important to make sure that your insurance company is there for you on that bad day. And that's really what we're here for. So to make your bad day less bad, basically. And on the inventory front too, Nate even mentioned, as they were kind of evolving, I'm sure at some points, Nate, you probably had a decent amount of inventory in your house if you were transitioning from one place to another. And that's, if you have a few $1,000s worth of business property, your homeowner's policy, there's a decent chance may not cover that, especially if it's over a certain threshold. So those are the sorts of things to just kind of keep in mind, and then always, reach out to an insurance professional. And from our perspective, we have an awesome team of member service representatives that are always there to help answer any specific questions that you might have about whether it's your business coverages, et cetera. So I can I'll ask Marissa to put in our direct phone number. That'll be the plug for anybody who has questions specific about the business insurance as it relates to what they have going. But as we get to the end too, happy to answer obviously the Q&A. I just don't want to forget to throw that number out there.
So if I can add to that a little bit, during our business growth and iterations of trying to stay alive, we sold the brick and mortar, and I believe when we did that, we canceled the insurance policy, thinking, hey, we're just operating out of our own warehouse. We don't have customers on here. But then as we moved into this large scale event operation and then catering operations, we had to call back again, get our insurance turned back on. And I don't recollect off the top of my head exactly what type of policy it was. I know part of it was liability, but in order for us to even get the large scale catering contracts and event hosting, we absolutely had to have the insurance, or the venue wouldn't even allow us onto the property. Yeah. So that was another piece where, in order for us to operate in that realm, absolutely had to have it. Couldn't get a single contract signed until I provided the insurance policy to that event host.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's another really common kind of trigger point for needing insurance. So yeah, great point.
So Nathan, can you tell us a little bit more about like the liability when it comes to inventory, and what should like the average business who has some inventory, what are some of the things that they should have covered, or what they should be thinking? Because I know that you look into a business and you're like, sometimes it's so daunting. You don't know what is covered and what is not. But and like when you mentioned that if somebody trips over a bag and you're a photographer, that could really happen.
Yep.
So, but when you have that insurance that you don't, it's not gonna, kill your business, these are all things that we need to think about as business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly the common examples are kind of Nate's initial example when he had a retail space, someone slipping, tripping, falling at your location. And then the second piece of that is certainly your property. Whether it's if you own the building itself that you're operating out of, but more commonly with especially new small businesses, it's your business owned property. So if you're selling a product, it's, your inventory is huge. If you're just, in like the consulting world or like the photography world is the other example, or if you're, an accountant, a lawyer, something like that, it's more likely your business equipment, like it could be your computer that you operate off of and your desk and your, filing cabinets, if anybody uses filing cabinets anymore. But if you have a small office space, you can pretty easily have $10,000, $15,000 worth of equipment or furniture without really, realizing how exposed, you might be. So it's really important to make sure that you kind of do a mental inventory of like, if something bad were to happen, what is the value of all of this property, and make sure that you have the applicable coverage for it. So those are kind of the standard, top one or two, but especially in today's world, as you think about the cybersecurity and things of that nature, are you collecting personal information of your customers, whether it's taking credit cards, or even if it's just keeping, like a customer contact list. If you have, names, phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, things like that, stored in any way, you could be at risk of somehow getting that list into the wrong hands. And then, that's a different kind of bad day. But that's why you're probably seeing more and more in the news these days about cyber insurance and its importance. Typically, we see it in the news when a Fortune 500 company gets hacked and there's 100 million people impacted, because those are the huge stories. But the reality is, the majority of cyber-related incidents do happen to very small companies, because they tend to be a little bit more vulnerable. So what I would encourage you all to do is, even before even buying, say, cyber insurance, is just do a little bit of research and education on how you can protect yourselves. Things as simple as like password managers, protecting your passwords in something other than a Post-it note, which I used to be very guilty of a few years back. You have like a Post-it on your computer screen. Probably not the best approach. But there's a lot of great education out there on how to just kind of take some initial steps to keep your business and your customers safe from cyber incidents. And then I guess just one more quick highlight as far as types of coverage that might be important to you is like professional coverage. So if you are, say, a consultant, and say you're a marketing consultant, and you're giving advice to Nate on his marketing campaign for his new new roast of coffee. And if I were to give him some horrible advice and it, sent his business in a spiral, he might sue me for giving really bad advice because I did a really horrible job. There's insurance for that as a professional, because if I just do one job poorly one time, my life, my business shouldn't necessarily have to go down with it. So there is insurance for that as well. And that's for, you think of beauty salons, if somebody messes up someone's hair, there's a lot of little nuanced areas that insurance is there for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Nate, we love to hear all the great stories, but I think the best stories are always your lessons learned.
Mhm.
Tell us some of the lessons learned that, you had along the way that, you help that other people don't make, or what was your big lessons learned that you would go, I'm never doing that one again?
Oh man.
That wasn't on the questions. I always like them. And so lessons
Lessons learned.
learned.
I think the biggest thing that we have realized is that adaptability is your friend in small business. I know I've harped on it. We remain flexible with all the blows that we were given, and that's what kept us alive. But not just in small business. We run this as a married couple, so being adaptable to whatever's happening has helped us as a business and as a couple be able to deal with it. The other really, really big thing for us, I think, because I've been in the veteran business world for a little bit and seen a lot of the heartache that can go on. We are not partnered with anyone. We don't have equity partners. It is 100% owned by myself and my wife. If you start a brand, if that's your baby, if that's what you are growing, if that's what you're trying to do, yeah, there's a lot of great people out there that can help you. But be very careful about slicing away equity in your business for short-term gains. We've grown a lot slower than a lot of other businesses that are out there. However, we own 100% of it. We can make every decision that we want to as a business. We can do whatever we want as a business because it's ours. And we don't have to deal with a lot of the golden handcuffs that might come with really great short-term gains. Especially in the business world or the veteran business world, there's a lot of really bright, shiny objects out there. They're not always as shiny as they seem, though. That term golden handcuffs is it's prevalent in the veteran business world. So hold on to your equity, try to grow in the black as much as you can, and be flexible. If you dig your heels in the sand or you give away too much percentage of your business, it's going to lead to headaches down the road. I can almost guarantee it. And small business has enough headaches as it is. So
I was going to say, you're exactly right. I hear this time and time again. I think we're living in a Shark Tank world where people think that, we want everybody to invest in us, and they don't realize how much they're giving away as well. So, you can still grow. I still do believe in slow growth. It creates a solid foundation, so you can pivot and do and grow your business how you want to see it. Because once you start giving those little pieces away, it's no longer yours anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to give pieces of your business away for advice. You don't have to give it away for marketing, for ad share, whatever it is. I mean, the veteran business world, although it's a crowded place, there are a lot of really, really supportive people out there that will give you free advice and will loan their time for you. I'm friends with a lot of the other coffee company owners out there, and we're not trying to stomp on each other. We're not trying to steal each other's markets. In every industry that you look at across this country, whether it's coffee, whether it's photography, whether it's consulting, the fan is so big, each person only needs a little slice of it, especially in this small business world. I'll give a quick shout out to one of the really great ones out there, and kind of the original veteran coffee company is a guy named Al Wilson, who owns a company called De Espresso Liber. Him and I were in 1st Special Forces group together, then in 19th group together. He's also an 18 Delta, so we're pretty much the same person and doing the same business. But him and I are probably on the phone at least once a week, just chatting about business, chatting about coffee futures, chatting about marketing ideas. And we're, both of us are Special Forces, veteran-owned coffee companies. We have, we even partner with some of the same nonprofit organizations. But the market is so big. I mean, we're out there to help each other. So we don't need to be slicing off equity of your dreams and your hard work for free advice. There's people out there. Just call them.
And I think and I'm just going to give the VIB a plug here, because that's what the VIB Foundation is all about: shared knowledge and support, so we can all, grow our businesses together. So we, and this is why these kind of webinars are really important, because it shares this information and gets the information that people might not get any other way. So,
Yeah.
so Nathan, I'm going to ask you this question, kind of somewhat similar to Nate's. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see that small businesses make when it comes to, their insurances? I know the basic is probably undercovered,
Yeah.
but what are some of the other things that you see?
I would say one of the big ones, and we did hit on it a little bit throughout, is just kind of the we'll say the set it and forget it mentality of, like, it's great, you buy your insurance and your business is covered, and then and it renews, year after year, which again, in a lot of cases, that's perfect, and you're in great shape. But it's important to take that time and reflect back on how your business has changed, or how it might be changing, and making sure that you do talk with your insurance company to make sure that any new operations or new products or new locations are taken care of. Because what you don't want, the real bad day, is someone who was proactive enough to make sure that they had their insurance and everything, and then they add something very different from what they had purchased their insurance for, and then something, you have a claim situation, and it's less black and white on whether or not it was contemplated in your policy or not. So making sure that you take the time, let's say once a year, to just kind of evaluate your business, celebrate your growth and celebrate your wins and your changes, but do it at least for a little bit through that lens of insurance, and make sure that you're covered.
And I was going to say, and that's probably relationships. That all goes back to your relationship. You should have a relationship with your insurance company, so that you do, I know as business owners, once we're out the door, we forget about everything. But, I would recommend once a year, have an appointment with your insurance person and sit down and go over, make sure that you've got everything covered. And so you're continually building that relationship, and they understand your business, and they want to support you and help you as well.
Just like you would add your teenage driver when they get their license to your policy. Not that you like to see the impact that it might have, but it's obviously that's something, that's a point in life that people you understand, and that's a natural time to make a change like that. So think of your new location as adding a driver to your house, or a new product, similar to that. So anyway, it's just reflecting on your business and making sure that you're covered.
Excellent. So we are at 10:47. So I'm gonna go on to Marissa, and so Marissa, it looks like we have some questions. What are some of the questions? We'll start off with whatever you got available.
Yeah, hey, so there's been two so far in the chat during our initial discussion, so we can cover those first. The first one came from Stephen, and I believe we may have indirectly answered his question through our discussion, but just to make sure, he was curious on consultants and their specific need for coverage. So if he actually isn't selling any products, and he is just teaching and instructing, is insurance necessary for him?
So let me just make sure I heard you, Marissa. So basically, like more of a consulting sort of an operation, instructing on, sounded like a dietitian sort of instructing, or fitness instruction. Is that right?
Is Stephen able to
no, he says
further clarify?
Education related.
Oh, education. Oh, I see. So I guess the short answer would be yes. If your your product is your education. So if you are asking people to come to you to solicit advice, then essentially you're offering a professional service is your product versus something tangible. So if you are meeting with them at a specific location, and to Nate's point, there's a pretty good chance that wherever you'd meet with them might tell you that you need to have insurance to conduct a class there. If it's strictly like what we're doing here via Zoom, the insurance exposure would be more on the service itself, the consulting or the education that you give. If, my example of being a really bad marketing consultant could, potentially come into play on your professional services offered. So the short answer is yes, insurance could be a need for you. That said, it would depend more on, if you're meeting with people in person, if you're just doing things over Zoom, to kind of determine, what exactly, what policies and coverages exactly are right for you.
So, so if he does have us, is how does international consulting impact? I thought that's what he said. He wanted to know how does international.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I finally got caught up here on the chat on the right here, so I'm with you now. So the international aspect would be, again, it would depend more on if are you traveling internationally to do the consulting, or is it people coming to you, or is it virtual, I guess would be the three. And it might be a combination of that. Okay, I see he's traveling. So the short answer, it would still be yes. I would say even more important than if you were just doing virtual, because as you travel to these different places, when you go to their business or home or wherever you're conducting the classes, if that, example of your briefcase being on the ground and someone were to trip over it and look to come after you as the person responsible for their injury, you would have been operating, in the scope of your consulting or education business. So that's where, insurance would be important to protect you from those sorts of situations.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nathan. And then we had another one, Marissa, you were saying?
Yes, we did. So the second question is, does USAA work with employee benefits or partially self-insured companies? And there was a secondary one to that one, which was, can we talk about what educating businesses looks like?
So the first question around working with partially self-insured businesses, probably would need a little bit more specifics on that, but if I'm making some assumptions, you can tell me in the chat if I'm wrong. But if you mean like property oriented, as in I have $50,000 in property, but I only want to insure 25 of it because I'm comfortable paying for or self-insuring the balance of that, is that what you're getting at there on the self-insurance side? And what was the second part of that, Marissa? I forgot already.
He said self-insured health or workers' comp.
Right. Employee benefits, workers' comp, right. So workers' comp is absolutely an area that our agency helps place a ton of our member-owned businesses today. It's not one of the products that we have manufactured that is live today. It is absolutely in our roadmap and in our plans because we know how important it is. But so I would certainly encourage you to reach out to USA for the workers' comp insurance for sure. The self-insured health is not something necessarily that put it this way, I'm not in a place to speak to it, only because I'm not sure I fully understand exactly what you're referring to there. So I'll keep my mouth shut.
Well, excellent. You want to just ensure that you're asking the right questions.
Yeah, and anything like offline, if I don't know, Rebecca, if there's a way to like have an email correspondence or something offline that we could get into a little bit more detail. I don't want to leave the question unanswered, I guess is the point, but also don't want to speak out of turn.
Sure, no problem. And Marissa, is there any other questions?
So Les, the same question that you just answered came from Les, and Les did have another question that was attached, which was, can we talk about educating businesses? I just posed in the chat asking for some clarification around that question, but I don't know if that initially jogs any answers or comments from you, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I think in short, I think it's important for insurance companies, all insurance companies, but certainly USAA, if you were to go, say, onto our website and looking to insure your business, that we want to make it an experience that as you're going through a process, that you know what you're getting, and you feel confident that the business insurance that you're buying is right for your business. So it's incumbent upon us, just like any other insurance company, to make sure that, you know, it's not just really confusing questions on a screen, but that it makes sense why you're being asked what you're being asked, and that at the end of the process, you feel comfortable and confident that the policy that's being put in front of you is exactly what your business needs. So that's something that we are constantly working on improving. You know, every time we get any sort of feedback from our members, and when, you know, the process may not make as much sense as we'd like it to, you always have our agency partners to reach out to, because they live and breathe this stuff, and they can help answer any question that you might not get answered when you're trying to self-serve.
I think we can have one more question and then we'll wrap things up.
Awesome.
So the next question is cyber liability insurance written directly through USAA, or is it farmed to an outside carrier?
Great question. And similar to the workers' comp answer, where today our agency does partner with other carriers that have their own products today, so that as members, you're able to get policies through some of our carrier partners. It too is very much on our product roadmap. We're hoping to have some cyber coverage as a component of our business policy in the latter part of next year. So you'll have an opportunity then to get some coverage built in to the business owner's policy that we offer today, and then even further down the line have a standalone cyber product. So absolutely top of mind for us. You know, a lot of the things that I mentioned earlier, the industry and just the climate in general, there's a lot of cyber activity out there. So we want to make sure to work on getting into that market to be there for you.
I think cyber is one of those things that I think we're all a little conscious of as well. We hear it all the time. So, you know, to have somebody that you're partnering with that you know, understands the market is great.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to finish up and say that, you know, this is recorded. We will share this webinar with everyone after. It'll also be on our website and our YouTube channel. I'm going to go back to Nathan with some final thoughts of, you know, any advice you would give to, you know, business owners.
Sorry, is that Nate or Nathan?
Nate Dressel. Coffee Nate.
Yeah, coffee Nate. I mean, I've kind of gone over the adaptability piece and to be flexible. If somebody's watching this that is thinking about starting a business, take the first step. You know, there's never going to be a perfect business plan. There's never going to be a perfect approach to doing it, and you're gonna learn, you know, trial by fire. But if you're thinking about doing it, reach out to the VIB, reach out to other veterans that you know who have started businesses, but don't put it on the back burner for too long. You know, the biggest thing is to take that first step. You might not have everything exactly the way you want it to be, but you're never going to. No matter how long you do it, you're always going to be running into hurdles. So take the first step, get started, and really be willing to lean on the people around you. There's so much advice out there. There's so many veterans out there that want to see other veterans do well in business. There's a great support network. You just have to be willing to take a little bit of risk, and then rely on those people around you. Take that first step. It's worth it.
Great. Thanks so much, Nate. And then Nathan, any last minute thoughts on for the small business community, small veteran business community?
You know, Nate said a lot really well. What I would say is absolutely encourage you all and those that are thinking about starting new businesses that, you know, the time may never feel perfect, but it's great to get out there and pursue your passions. And as you go along your journeys, at least in some part of your mind, keep insurance there, because it really is important. And you all are why we get up in the morning, why we're here to serve all of you who have served our country. And we want to make sure that we're here on, on your rainy day, as it may be, as it relates to your business. So just again, thanks for the opportunity to be here, and great to meet you all.
Great. Thank you so much. I think this is really insightful, and I love the candid conversation of this all. We try to keep it all organic, of real things that were happening. Another plug for the VIB, our national conference is coming up in 11 days, but who's counting? And so USAA is going to be there as well. Their supplier diversity team is going to be there, so we're pretty excited. And they can answer any questions if you have anything virtually. You can, ask them questions. When I do share this, I will share their contact information, and I will share Coffee Nate's website, so you can check out the coffee as well. Thank you all for joining us. Marissa, is there anything else that I need to follow up with?
I think you're good, Rebecca. Thank you so much for allowing us to attend today.
Great. Thank you all very much. And everybody will get a follow-up email. And if you don't, you'll see it in the newsletter for tomorrow as well. So thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of the week. Take care.
Yeah.
Take care.